Hello and welcome to Spring into Java. I am your host, Galabe, and in today's video, we are going to create a Discord / command for adding a book, and we're going to provide the option of providing us an integer that we're going to use for the ISBN number. And we're also going to create a way to handle making a quick post to add that to our library, and then return us with the data transfer object of that book, so that we can reply with an embedded message, just with a quick description about the book that we've just added. So, if that sounds like something that you're interested in, fill up that cup of coffee, and let's dive on in. So, to start off, in the last video, we wanted to make a way to save our book. So here we're creating the book object, parsing the object, and if it's new, we're making a variable of a new book object, and we're going to tell it to create a book object. This was a method that we had already created in a previous video. This will create the new book object, fill it out with all the information we have, and then we are just simply going to call the book service and save it. That was the only change that I had made in here, other than making this return the actual book DTO object. This is just so that once we make our RESTful API, we just want to get a JSON object back, and this will just give us that. So that, and I've cut out the string messages, leaving just the HTTP response until we've actually created the book. So next, we are going to look into our book service. This is also made public. So the first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to actually go into our Discord bot, and we're going to head on into the Discord class where we made our register command, and we're going to create a new command here. So we're just going to call this commands.add. If I can type that correctly. And we're going to add in a new / command. And this one here, we're actually just going to name add-book, because this is going to provide us a couple of ways for our people to add a new book. So, provide. All right. So now we also want to, we're going to add in some options here. So add options, and we're going to make a new option data. And the option data that we're going to pass in here is where we want the user to give us an integer. So this will make sure that it's going to be the ISBN number. So we're going to tell this to be an option type of integer. And we're going to call it the ISBN, and then give it a short description. This would be a 10 or 13 digit number unique to the book. Yeah, sure, let's go with that. And let's also make sure to fix up the ISBN number. And the last thing that we want to do is we want to also tell it that this is a required field. So we're going to pass in true as another argument here. That will just make sure that the user can't submit the command request without actually giving us a number. Now, we also want to make sure that this is going to be functional. So we're going to go into our listeners, Discord listener, and just like we did for the command, we are going to need to make another one that's going to listen for the add book. And this is going to be something that we're going to have to create. So this is going to be add book. And we're just going to go ahead and let this use the create class for us. We're not going to go in the listeners. It is going to go into the commands implementation though. We'll go ahead and add that to our Discord. Make sure that we implement the this slash that we had made in from one of our previous videos. As well as we also want it to also implement the Gladly Studios network that we've made so that we can make a post request. So we got to go ahead and implement our method, the only required one that's in here, which is our handle slash. And this would be now resolving that issue. So inside of here, there is a couple of things that we want to do. This is our we want to make sure about first off that our members we want to make sure that our member object from the Discord user is not null, as well as we also want to make sure that the options that we require is also there and not null. From there, we're going to go ahead and extract the number. So just give me one moment here and we'll write this out. Event get options. Next, we're going to go down here to make sure that the event is not optional. So make sure the event's not options are not null. So if it's not empty, sorry, if it is empty, we're just going to return. So we are then going to have another variable here that is our ISBN number. So this is the number that the user had entered in, and this is going to be equal to the options dot get. It's the only option we have, so it's going to be the first one, and we want this as a string. All right. So next we are going to make a try catch clause here because we're going to make a quick call to an HTTP client. So this here is just going to be a try with resource that will just simply catch out an IO exception that could possibly be thrown. And let me just correct that because it's supposed to catch it. There we go. I will just make sure that that gets printed out like we normally would. All right, so in here we want a closable HTTP client. And the reason we use a closable HTTP client is so that it gets closed at the end of our session, the end of our try catch here. So we want to now have this is going to be a response here. So we're just going to call it a response. equals submit HTTP. We need to go in and do that first. So we're gonna hop into the network here, and we are going to very close to this here. We're going to make a quick default HTTP response that will be submit HTTP post with reply. And this is only going to take in a string, if I can talk. That is the URL. This is, however, going to throw an IO. Exception, and this is going to return HTTP. No, we need that. That's right, we need that as well. So we're just going to grab this from here. That text, more or less the same idea. HTTP client.execute, but we are just simply getting a post. Get post URL, passing in the URL, and there we go. So now we're using here, we are going to submit this, and the URL that we're going to go with here is the paste URL. I'm calling .cat, and it was version 1 book add ISBN, and we're then taking the ISBN number that our user is passing into us. So we're just going to go ahead and here, concat, and go ISBN, finish that off, and we also need an HTTP client that we're out. HTTP client, and that is not added in the wrong spot. I apologize. Let me just bring that where it should be. Here we go. All right, so now we have a response. In here, we want to make sure the response is not null, and if it's not, then we are going to simply map it to a book DTO that we have in our other class. So we're going to take this, drop it in our network here. Go ahead and add that to the Discord, or to the GitHub. Jump back into here, and we are going to make a quick check that we are not null. So our response is now not null, so we're going to grab an object mapper. I'm just going to call it mapper, and that is going to be a new object mapper from Faster Jackson. And we are now going to make a book here. So this is going to be a book, and it's going to be equal to our mapper dot read value value, if I can spell. Oh my goodness. We're going to take in the response, and we want to map that to the book DTO dot class. And make sure to import that. There we go. Going on here now. response is the string. Oh, yes, right, because the response is not a string yet. Okay, so we need to first make a string of the reply, which is an entity utilities. Entity utility, entity utilities dot the string response dot get entity, I believe it is. There it is. And we have to do that to UTF-8. I apologize for that, and that's what we're supposed to pass in here is the respond entity. There we go, and now the book. So now, if final objects not null on the book, so we know we have an actual book, we are going to send a Discord reply. We want to reply with an embed message because now we have a book object. So we're going to make a private void, and we're just going to call this one send created embed. Send created embed. And this here is going to take in a / command interaction event, just like the event we have up here. And it is also going to take in the book DTO object. And we're just going to call that book. So, scroll down here. Well, let's get rid of this little error here. So, send embed, and that's the event and the book. And basically, other than that, we're going to be just replying to the event that something went wrong. Cue that. Okay, so that's going to take care of that. So that now we want to send an embed message here. So here we need to create an embedded builder. So embed builder. We'll just simply call this builder. New embed builder. All right. So now there's a few cool things that you can do with the embed builder. We can, for example, builder.set color. So we can set the color of our embed. This simply sets the like the left hand color, left hand sort of like thing that you see on embed. You'll see when we post it. So we're gonna go ahead and make this a new color, and we can give it an RGB value. In my case, I like purple, so we're gonna go with 64,0,128. Now, the other thing that we're going to do here is we're going to set the author. This would be the name that comes across the top of the embed. So we're just going to call this disk library because we don't actually have a sort of a good name for it. We're just going to call it what the name of the app is. Next, we're going to go ahead and set the title of the embed message, and this is going to be equal to that of the title of the book. So, builder.set title. The title here. Now, the URL aspect that you see here, that is the second option. That would be the if you provide it a URL here, that would make the title clickable, so that if somebody was to click on the title of the book, for example, it would go to maybe our web page later on. But we'll have to first build the website first. But for now, this is just going to simply be that of the book.getTitle. Next, we're going to set the description. So builder.set the description. Now the description is just the short bit of text that comes up beneath the title. This would be a good idea for the book's description to go here. Now, we can also set a thumbnail, which would be up on the upper right corner. Right now, we don't have a way that we grab that, but we could, for example, use the book, the book's title if we wanted to. But next, we want to add a field. This field here, we're going to give it the name of author. And the text is going to be that to the book.getAuthor, and we want this to be inline. Now, what the inline means is just simply you can have 3 on the desktop app. It doesn't really make a difference whether it's on mobile app for some reason. We're not going to get into that. That's just a kind of a weird thing I have with that. But now, what this is the you can have 3 on the desktop. You can have 3 things across the top, across each row, as a maximum. But you can have up to, I believe, it's 20 or 50 options. So for us, we're just going to use a couple of things here just to mention who the author is, who the publisher is, and when the book was published. So we're just going to grab these from our book object. Publish date. There we go. And I guess we could do this again. Set up another one here, and we'll call this IS. We'll call it 10 and 13. Get ISBN 10, 13. We'll wrap those into a string because it does require that these 2 options are a string object and a string object. And the published date, we'll just call this, I guess, the shelf ID. And this will just be simply the ID of a shelf if we happen to give it a shelf. Next, we're going to set the little footer. This will be like the small sort of text that comes up on the bottom. And again, you can have an icon with this as well, which we can provide a URL for. You can also give it a URL so that it could be clickable. So maybe if you wanted to brand this to yourself or to your own website, you could do so. We're going to happen to say powered by and just Clabe Studios. Now, if I wanted to provide my own website in here, I could do so as well. http:// Studios. XYZ. So this would just simply make it so that the footer in the message is clickable. And now we can come down here and take in that event that we had and simply reply with an embed, and that would be the builder. And we'll just tell it to build. Builder.build. And then you want to, from here you could set this to a formal message, which just simply is like when the user gets a private message in a public channel, but it's only private to them. That will be what the informal message is. We're not really worried about setting this so that it's like public-private things, so we're just going to go ahead and queue it up and tell it to send that message off to our Discord user. So now there is one other thing that we want to do before we jump in and test this out. So we want to go back into our book service class here, where we are creating the book, where it is a subtitle, because there is an option that there may not be a subtitle, and it might be the first sentence that the book is in here. This is an error that I did come across in testing. So we're going to go ahead and make a little check for that. So first off, we're going to want to make sure that the option is there. So if objects dot non-null, quite literally, if this option is not null, then we want to take it. And then literally, other than that, the only other option that it could be would be the first sentence. Because if the book doesn't have a subtitle, then it's going to have a first sentence. So we'll just write that here. And this is only, of course, else. So now let's go ahead and run our web app first. Once that fires up, we're going to switch over to our Discord bot. Make sure this gets turned on. There we go. Switch over to our Discord bot. We'll fire this on. Once that becomes okay, I will hop over to Discord. Then in here, we are going to have / to our add book by the ISBN number, and we're going to add in this ISBN. So let's go ahead and add in this book and see what happens. Look at that. Fantastic Mr. Fox was added. All right. So now in our next videos, we're going to go ahead and create a shelf. And on that shelf, we're going to go ahead and create it with a name. Then we'll find a way to map our books to our shelves. So we'll dive into a little bit more about a one-to-one mapping and a many-to-one mappings. How that loads. We'll talk a little bit about lazy loading and what that is and what it means. Might be kind of confusing. I'll explain that in the next video. And if that sounds like something you're interested in, drop me a like. If you'd like to see me sort of just live stream and kind of just chat about the code that I'm doing or why we're doing what we're doing, leave me a comment and let me know what your thoughts are on that. If you'd like to be notified when our next video comes out, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you in the future.